item you'd like to think about is that from a tax standpoint, is when you talk about bankruptcy, from a tax standpoint, is that the city is not anywhere near any of its caps at all. And so it's a conservative budgeting philosophy, a focus on retiring of debt, and then looking and managing your cash flows. And the council has done an extremely good job of that over the years.
Thank you. How many years have you been the city manager of Port Orange?
Well, I came August 1st, 1984, so I'm this next year, next August, it'll be 28 years I've been here.
And I read the newspaper that it's the longest tenure of any city manager in the state of Florida.
Well, no, it's not. There are some individuals that have served longer in their capacity, and I was noticing this past week there's an individual up in, I think it's Niceville or someplace up in the Panhandle, that is approaching the 40-year mark in their community. Now, in Volusia County, I have the distinction of being the longest tenured manager in Volusia County.
Oh, very good. By the way, we all know Charlie Rago.
Yes, I know Charlie.
I don't know if you received his 69th anniversary picture with his wife.
Oh man, that's
great.
They
look great, and I know he had been a VIP with the police department, and I'm sure he was in other functions of volunteer work for the city. I think he's 92 years old, doing fine.
Right.
Well, Ms. Parker, let me ask you.
Well, it's kind of interesting is Charlie. I got a really special bond with Charlie. He's just one of those fine individuals that he and his wife, we just love to death.
Amazing.
Okay, and I got a privilege of doing something for Charlie a few years ago. Something that I was very pleased. One of my sons happened to be on embassy duty in Luxembourg, and Charlie's brother was killed in World War II. And Charlie had never been able to go to the site where his brother had been buried. And my wife and I were able to go to that cemetery, and we were able to take a photograph of his brother's headstone and bring it back to Charlie. And we were, because that was when he found out that I was going to Luxembourg, he came to me and said, "Can you do that for me?" And I said, "Sure."
Oh, that's nice.
And we were, so I've kind of just a special bond with Charlie.
That's great. Yeah, Charlie stays so active, and he likes to record and save his memories. And
yes, that's good.
It's great for him, his family, and for all of us too.
Right.
So, can you give us some highlights of your career, or maybe more tending to us, things you've learned and you think we should all know about in the city manager's job?
Okay.
The best and the worst, I guess.
Okay. Well, you kind of go back and you begin to think back of what Port Orange was like in 1984. A community of about 22,000 individuals living here. And somebody asked me yesterday about what were the new subdivisions that were being built in that period, and I began to think about that. Well, there was Riverwood. That was the big subdivision down at the end of Spruce Creek Road that was under construction. And there was, if you went west of 95, Summer Trees was out there, but that was virtually it. And we thought you were going a long distance when you went to the fly-in. And today, Port Orange is a much different city. So if you go back and you think about what it was like here in Port Orange, I remember the first night that my wife and I and the family got here, is that the place that we could find open to have dinner that night was Burger King. And so we've seen a lot of changes during that period of time. You could go through virtually every single department and you could think about some items. And the first city council meeting I attended as a city manager, they indicated they wanted me to go and hire an ocean hydrologist. Well, first thing is I found that there are not many ocean hydrologists around, and coming out of the middle part of the country and coming here and then being told to go find an ocean hydrologist was kind of an unusual situation. I could find an hydrologist, but not one that specialized in oceans. We were in a debate right then with the Department of Transportation over opening of the Port Orange Causeway. And in the Department of Transportation, the Florida Department of Transportation was saying that the culverts, the small culverts that were there, was all they were going to give the city. And the city believed if you're going to clean up the river, then you had to have the flushing action through the causeway, and the causeway was an impediment to the cleaning of the river. So that was sort of a highlight, and as Alan Green says, it took a long time, to get that done, and so that's kind of one of the kind of started as a highlight period, is this working on what do we do to clean or keep the river itself clean or clean it up. And so that was the first. Then we went and from an environmental standpoint, we started looking at reclaimed water as an asset, not just something you pumped into the river. And today, more than 6,000 customers are on our reclaimed water system. And most days, well, probably today, right now, it's been more than 2 years since we put any of our reclaimed water into the Halifax River. And we continue to work extremely hard on that. The Rose Bay project is a part of that same type of environmental effort, is to make sure that that estuary down there is clean. And now the work is finished down in that one. But most people don't realize that all the work that had to be done upstream of Rose Bay and the retention areas and all of the cleaning of stormwater that had to be done before it reaches the bay. And because if you were just doing the bay itself, it would not, eventually it would return back to the siltation, so you had to do a lot of work upstream. And a lot of that work has been done, and it was stormwater projects that were needed in neighborhoods, but it was also a part of the whole beneficiary of that goal of having that river as a living, viable organism down there. And then the land acquisitions that the city of Port Orange has done over the years, especially securing the well fields that the city of Port Orange has west of Tomoka Farms Road. And when you begin to think about in 1982, 83, 84, beginning to buy property out in the middle part of the country, of this county. This was back before Volusia County was even doing land acquisitions, and this was before the state of Florida was doing major land acquisitions. And the city went out there and said, we're no longer willing just to have 1 acre tracts of land. And today, that property out there that is guaranteed to be preserved for generations. And it not only is producing our water supply for our residents, but it also is providing a city forest where the trees themselves are producing revenue, where it has a reclaimed storage lake where we're able to, on days when we don't have enough customers using our reclaimed water, we can take it out there and then we can bring it back into the system. And we've even placed a solar field out there now. We're in the beginning phases of that solar power out in that location. And then the mitigation banking that is being done on that property. Very few cities, one, have the property to do it, and very few cities have had the vision to do it. And the council has placed that out there. And that's a very valuable, both monetarily and also from a economic development standpoint, a very valuable resource that the city has. Then you think back, I talk about You know, the whole Parks and Recreation program and the expansion of our park systems and all of those things that have occurred in this city.